Section 2, our Do You Give a Bleep, our news and notes, our tids and bits. How many stories do you compile each week?
5.
That's right. So each 5-ish, right? So each Monday we put them out as individual clips, and it's also on the podcast. So if somebody's listening on Saturday or Sunday, if somebody's listening to the full video on Sunday, they'll hear these, but then they also come out again on Monday.
Okay.
And so
That's good. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, and so anybody who's watching this right now, hit subscribe so that you'll see them every week, and you won't have to come back, and maybe you'll learn stuff about things you didn't know before, because isn't that why we're all on YouTube anyway? Is to learn stuff?
And videos of cats.
Oh, I love cat videos. I'm sure Regal Cat will make an appearance. She has made an appearance in every previous episode of this podcast. Mm-hmm. So what's our first story?
Well, first one's kind of a 2-for-1.
A 2-for-1? We're getting a bargain.
You are. You really are. But kind of, sort of, not really. If you're in the U.S., we got 2 events this week. Number 1, daylight savings time ends 2 a.m. Sunday.
2 a.m. Sunday.
So, since it's fall, you'll set your clocks back 1 hour.
So basically, if you're watching this right now and you haven't set your clock back, turn it back now.
You're going to be early to everything.
You're going to be Are you early? So I get to sleep in on Monday?
You get to sleep in an hour. Oh, because instead of being, like, say, 1:30, it'll be 12:30.
Let me just bask in this light for a minute, knowing I'm going to get an extra hour of sleep. Okay. Daylight savings time. Make sure to change your clocks.
And make sure to check and replace your batteries and your smoke detectors as well.
Yeah, no kidding. We had that smoke detector in our house. The battery just needed replacing. We do an alarm. I mean, obviously, I have this place locked up like Fort Knox. And we have this alarm system that's hooked up to the smoke detector, and the battery went out. The panel starts beeping. I felt like I was on an episode of Lost, because every 6 hours I had to go push the button saying, yes, I know the alarm is getting low on battery. Well, a shout out to Vivint. They came out and they replaced the whole smoke detector. We've had it for a few years, and apparently they expire. So if you've had your smoke detectors for more than a few years, unfortunately you're going to have to replace them.
I have no functioning smoke detectors in my house.
Oh, that's like a code violation. You rent, right? Your landlord should provide them.
Well, the problem was the smoke detector would go off literally every time the oven was turned on, no matter what.
That's probably a problem with your oven.
Or it's in a bad place. Like if the smoke detector is too close to the oven, then yeah.
Yeah, put it out in the hallway.
Move it a little farther away and you should be okay.
Don't think I have the power to move it, but we'll look into it.
Yeah.
But we should probably have a smoke detector, but yeah. That's...
You should have multiple, since it's, a 3-bedroom place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Smoke detector. No, when we bought this house, there were smoke detectors everywhere, and they were all hardwired, and yet they'd still beep at me every time the battery went out.
No, ours weren't hardwired.
Yeah, they're wired into the wall.
No, they're attached to the wall, like all smoke detectors.
There's cables that come out of them. I've taken down a couple of them. They're actually wired into the electrical system.
But they have backup batteries, and those are what needed to be replaced.
It's awful. You're constantly changing them. It's just...
Yes.
But I like it set up to the alarm, so then if it goes off, they can send the fire department if I'm not home.
Yes.
So...
And then the second one is, again, if you're in the U.S., Election Day is Tuesday.
So if you're watching this on Sunday...
And you are registered to vote, please make sure you go vote on Tuesday. The lines may be long, especially if you go in the evening, but as long as you're in line before the polling place closes, they will still let you vote.
Yep. And it should be noted, you cannot vote by phone.
Or by text.
Or by text. There
or
seems
online.
There seems to be some misleading stuff going around. One of the candidates actually said to mark your calendars for November 28th. So if you're voting for that candidate, go ahead and mark your calendars for November 28th.
Mine was Trump. Let's not pretend like Hillary Clinton is stupid enough to tell people the wrong day to vote on.
It's true. It's true. But at this point,
See, he was thinking November 28th, because November 28th is the day that he's in court for a fraud case.
That's right.
And isn't he also up for another more criminal case?
Yeah, he's got that rape of a 13-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how that goes. Ultimately, though, I have gotten to a point with this election where I don't believe any of it and all of it. Like, it's just... we're so flooded with social media and with advertising, and these are professionals. These are people who know how to get to you and manipulate you, and then you start going, yeah, that guy's Hitler, or yeah, that woman deserves to be in prison. And I don't know.
Except if you actually use the tools of scientific analysis to weed through the information, it's clear that guy really is almost Hitler, and she does not deserve to be in prison.
Yes.
Those are like, there's disputes, there's differences of opinion, but this is why everyone needs to listen to my Escape from Ignorance podcast, because I'm teaching people how to tell the difference between BS and reality. And in this election, there's really no choice. If you're undecided, it's only because you are not trying hard enough to get at the facts.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken Bone. Thank you. But I don't know. I've actually gotten to a point where I've looked into it. I agree that there are parallels in the rhetoric, and absolutely that scares me. But
Right.
I'm not sure. I mean, we have a 3-tiered government. We have three parts. We have checks and balances. I don't think he could enact any of that stuff that he's talking about.
Well, I don't think he can either, but the fact that he can't will only further enrage his supporters, because his whole campaign is built on hollow promises that would be impossible to implement by a competent person, doubly so by someone who clearly doesn't understand how the government works in the first place.
Right.
And
Though, as a Bernie Sanders guy, I want to point out that I love hollow promises because incrementalism. If you go in, the one thing Trump is he wrote a whole book on it. Well, he didn't write it, but the one thing is when you go into a negotiation, if they're going to offer 0 and you want 10, you don't go into a negotiation saying I want 10. You go in saying I want 20. And then you can meet in the middle. Or you say, I want 30, and then they can really feel like they're getting a deal. Yeah, no matter what, this country is headed towards a really weird time. I'm really worried about what's going to happen on November 9, because there's all those Oath Keepers and all of these fringe right, alt-right guys that are talking about taking up arms. And I'm like, hey, Democrats are armed too, right? Like, this is just going to be a civil war. That won't be good.
I think that the number of people who are threatening discord of that nature is very small, but so vocal that the media blows it completely out of proportion. I expect no matter who, like, if Hillary wins, I expect there'll be at least one idiot Trumpkin who does something horrible that disgraces us all as a nation. But I think that then it'll be over, and then we'll spend the next 4 years with them crying very loudly like the sad, poor, pathetic losers that they are, and not actually helping govern the country in any way. And if they just keep being whiny little babies for 4 years, the sane people in the country will realize how completely detached from reality and common sense and any semblance of public goodwill that their voices will eventually die out. That's
Maybe.
my
One
only
can
hope.
hope.
My
But
concern is that
if Trump
they will
wins-
actually die out. Like, that's my concern.
But if Trump wins, his bullying nature will infect everything in so many deeply destructive ways.
In many
It's
ways,
like he's the worst possible role model for young boys, and he is demon incarnate for young girls. And we, as a sane, compassionate nation, cannot let that man in the White House. If you haven't voted yet, get to the polls. Like,
Yes.
it is a moment of national urgency if there has ever been one.
I get it.
And if you are registered to vote and they're having trouble finding you in the registry, you are allowed to fill out a proxy ballot.
I think it's provisional. I think it's called a provisional
Is
ballot.
it a provisional ballot? I think
Proxy is when
it depends on the.
is when you're giving your vote to somebody else to cast on your behalf.
I think they call it different things in different areas, but it's the same
Yeah,
concept.
that's
It's
it.
basically, it's set aside until they can verify that you are who you are and that you are registered and that you should be registered. So you still get to vote. You just don't, it's not going to be quite the same. So, but make sure they give that to you because you are entitled to that.
So
The
I
rules
do
are
wanna-
different in every state, so
Yeah.
everyone should do the research.
Yes.
I want to point this out. I think it's obvious we're all left-leaning, but I certainly respect a conservative viewpoint.
I do too.
Right.
Sadly, Donald Trump does not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
And
I think
that's
we could
the
all
real
agree
problem.
on
Is
that.
Trump is neither a proper liberal or a proper conservative. He is a bomb-throwing bully who saw an opportunity, and he's trying to con us all.
But the reality is that go vote.
Yes.
We have strong opinions in this room. We have strong opinions. And by the way, I used to call them trumpeters, but that's disrespectful to all of my
to
friends
actual
that play
trumpeters.
Yes.
Right? Josh Peters on the Freeform Fridays. He's great. He plays trumpet. He plays oud. He plays drums. He's great. I was compiling the best of the best of Freeform Fridays 2016. We're going to release that here pretty soon.
I was always so jealous of the trumpet players when I played trombone because they got all the hero lines. Like everybody knew when the trumpets were playing, but the trombones always got stuck with the supporting stuff that no one could ever really.
Oh, then you were playing
Pull
bad
out.
music because I played trombone and we got the good stuff.
Agreed.
All right, maybe my beef is with my band director.
How many trombonists have we had come through this room? John played trombone on episode 2.
Uh-huh.
It was like, oh, we're all... Did you play trombone in high school?
Nope, sadly.
All right, get out. No, I'm kidding. All right.
Musically inclined, I am not.
All right, what's next?